What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream. And as you can tell from the title of this video, this is an episode, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta say, I've been playing MLB The Show for a long time, and I don't think I've ever had an off season quite like this, and that's not an exaggeration. It usually takes me a little bit to get through the off season, but this year, for this off season, it took me a long time. Part of that was because I really wanted to make sure that I made the right moves to help our rebuild. I also wanted to make sure that everything I was doing was, right on pace with that realistic nature that I'm trying to keep for the theme of this franchise. But some of the was going on in the offseason, man, it threw me for a loop, and it was something. So first thing you'll notice is we have improved vastly. I mean, we are up into the top half of the league at the 15th rank. Good sticks with the 10th contact and the 16th power. Our pitching is in the top 20. But I think we're a little bit underrated. I think we have a lot of upside and a lot of room for growth as this season goes on. And you're going to see why I think that in a little bit. But let me talk to you a little bit about how this offseason started. When I went into the free agents to view the free agents for the very first time, I was like a kid in a candy store. I got to tell you. I mean, there was so many big, huge, massive names on the open market. And I was like, ooh, I want this one, and I want that one, and I want this one. And I was like, how can I do that? And then I was like, all right, I filled up all this list of like, all right, I want all these guys. Let me just figure out with a couple guys. And then I started realizing like, oh crap, I don't have money. And I remembered we took over the Oakland Athletics. They don't have a large budget, so we are a little bit limited. But I said, you know what? We're going to do the most and the best with what we have. But I got to tell you, some of the guys are on the market. So I'm just going to name off some of the big names, but there's a lot of them. So for pitcher, Shane Bieber at a 96 overall was out there. Walker Buehler at a 95. Corbin Burns at a 94. Brandon Woodruff at a 92. Freddie Peralta at a 90. Those guys were all in the open market for pitchers. And then Max Fried at an 88 and John Means at an 84. Those are two really good left-handed pitchers. They were both available. So relief pitcher was deep as hell. Jonathan Loaizaga at 85 overall. Miguel Castro at 83. Sir Anthony Dominguez at 83. They were all available. Tyler Matzik at 85 as a lefty. AJ Minter, Aaron Bummer, both at 85s. Pete Alonso was on the open market at 88 overall. Brandon Lau at 90. Yoan Moncada at 93. Carlos Correa at 95. And then, of course, the big name, the Juan Soto, was on the market at 98 overall. So there was a lot out there. I did try to go after Juan Soto. I gave him a 10-year, $35 million contract offer, $35 million per year contract offer. I gave him a player option. I had the meter completely full, but he eventually decided to re-sign with the Washington Nationals. So that's a little bit disappointing there. So I went after Carlos Correa because I needed a shortstop. I gave him a 7-year, $231 million contract offer. I gave him a player option. His meter was totally full, and I was on top of that list until the Milwaukee Brewers came in and snaked him away from me. So I ended up not going super hard in terms of free agency, but I did make some crazy trades. And I got to tell you, I made the craziest sequence of trades I've ever made in my entire career playing this game. But let's start by showing you some of the new guys on the roster. So, first guy I'm going to talk to you about is, I mentioned Aaron Bummer was open. We needed a dominant lefty in our pen. We went and we got him. We signed him to a 3-year, $26.4 million contract. You see it's 8.8 per year. I didn't want to sign him too long, and I had to give him a little extra money because he was looking for about 4 or 5 years, and that's what some other teams were offering him. But I wanted to keep it relatively short, and that 3-year timeline, I think it lines up with when Ian Happ is going to be on the open market, so we'll have some money opening up, and also lines up with some of the time when our top prospects are going to be finishing their arbitration, so we're going to need some open money to try to re-sign those guys. The second guy we signed was the shortstop. So this is who we went after we couldn't land Carlos Correa. This was my second option, and that is Willy Adames. You see he's had a pretty good franchise so far. Loved the slash line last year. He had a really good WAR season at 3.5. And we signed him to a front-loaded 4-year, $36.8 million contract. Again, I wanted to front-load the contract because I had a little extra money in these next two seasons. I wanted a couple contracts to tail off near the end so I could have some money open on the back end when it's time for me to start signing some of my prospects to these larger contracts. You also see that we signed a little bit of a depth guy here, Jorge Mateo. He's going to be the last guy on our bench. I'm not expecting too much out of him with the bat, although he did have a couple of good seasons with Baltimore. I'm not quite sure why they did not extend arbitration for him. But their losses are a gain. I really wanted him because you see those insane speed numbers. 96 speed with a 98 steal and base running aggressiveness. He's really going to help us in the base running category. We'll get a few starts here and there, but not expecting too much with him at bat. He's really in there for the defensive versatility and those speed numbers. And we only signed him to a 1-year, $2.9 million contract. Nothing too crazy there. We then went to sign Randall Grichuk. I wanted somebody who hit lefties very well, and I needed another outfielder to help me out. You see 79 contact left, 89 power left. So pretty decent defensive numbers, decent athleticism with a 66 speed as well. He's had not a great franchise, but his last season was very good right before he hit the free agent market with Colorado. So we signed him to a simple 1-year, $5 million contract. Pretty happy to have him. He's a nice bench bat for us, so I'm excited about that. So that's going to cover all the guys we signed in free agency. So you see, we didn't go too crazy in free agency despite all the insane names that were out there. Some of the guys just wanted too much money. I didn't want to go after them. Some of the guys I would have been interested in signing, like maybe like a Pete Alonso, I didn't want to sign because, I don't know, I kind of like what I got in my first base between Michael Busch and Juan Yepes, and, they're filling out the DH role as well, so couldn't really find a spot for him in my lineup with what I got so far. Couldn't justify spending the money. I really wanted Juan Soto. I really wanted Carlos Correa, but, sometimes things just don't work out. You get the top offer, but they end up picking somebody else. So you'll notice as I went through, Matt Chapman is gone. I told you guys after the last episode I was seriously going to consider trading him, and I did. I pulled the trigger. I needed help elsewhere, and I found a team that needed a third baseman. And they had 2 catchers available that, are very good, and they don't need both of them. And funny enough, I traded Matt Chapman back to the Blue Jays. So he had an okay career with the Blue Jays with the 2 seasons there, and before the awful, atrocious, just still don't know what happened season with us. But if you're familiar with the Blue Jays, you're going to know that I took Alejandro Kirk. I wanted Gabriel Moreno because he's like crazy contact numbers, but I was okay with Kirk. He's probably just slightly better defensively, mostly because he's got some pretty crazy arm strength. Neither one of them is a great receiver, but that's okay by me. And Kirk got some pretty strong power numbers, as you see. Not a great 2024. Which is probably why I was able to get him a little bit cheaper for Matt Chapman. It was basically a 1-to-1 trade. I traded Matt Chapman plus Marco Raya, who's a 22-year-old starting pitcher, right-hander. I think he was a 66 overall. I think he's 74, 75 potential, so nothing too crazy. Almost a 1-for-1 trade. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy to get Alejandro Kirk. That should solidify some of my backstop issues that I've been having. So you'll notice also Ivan Herrera's not here anymore. And so I'm going to get to that, but I'm first going to show you who I ended up with. I went and got Grayson Rodriguez. Now, Grayson Rodriguez is arguably, and I don't think it's that arguable, I think he is the number 1 starting pitching prospect in all of baseball right now in real life. This guy is insane. He's filthy, just straight up good. 98-mile-an-hour fastball. His secondary stuff is insane. Now, oddly enough, he's not had a very good franchise. You see those ERA numbers there, but his WARs have been pretty good. Well, at least okay. And his FIPs have been decent. I think his problem is the pitching clutch, and this might be something that I need to fix for my prospects formulas for creating their ratings next year, because I think that something may have gone a little bit wrong because his pitching clutch shouldn't be that low, but there's something in the formula that kind of created that number to be so low, so it's something I'm going to need to investigate a little bit. But it is what it is right now. Usually I do pitching coach session to get those per 9 numbers growing as fast as possible, but for Rodriguez, I think I'm going to specifically train the clutch, and he's going to be the only guy I do that for because he really needs that clutch, and if he can get that under control, those ERA numbers should drop without much issue. He's also been giving up a lot of hits, so maybe that is because of the clutch issue. Maybe that's just a hits per 9 issue. Who knows? Anyways, to get Grayson Rodriguez was a challenge. So what I did when the offseason started is I actually simulated all the way past arbitration because you can't trade for guys who don't have contracts, which I think is kind of silly. I wish they'd change that. So, and that's actually, I got myself in trouble with the Trevor Rogers. I just assumed I'd be able to trade for him, and I got there, and it was too late to go back and sign anybody. So I actually simulated all the way post arbitration negotiations to see what Grayson Rodriguez would cost, and I worked out a trade for him. I was going to send them Pete Crow Armstrong, Ivan Herrera, and the lefty starting pitcher that we got from the Giants, Kyle Harrison. And that trade worked. And I was like, all right, this is a pretty good trade. It's hitting all the needs that the Orioles get. They get a really good return for this 95 potential Grayson Rodriguez, who hasn't been that great in this franchise, but he's definitely really good, so he should be taking a lot to get him. And that trade worked. So I'm like, all right, perfect. I'll send that. I'll probably even send a little bit extra to them too, so I really don't feel like I'm ripping them off. So I went to do that trade after I had been saving and moving along carefully through all the offseason, and yeah. I filled the bar to the middle, and it says, we still want a little bit more for you. And I'm like, I'd be willing to give you more because, that's fine, but there's only 3 slots for some archaic reason in this darn game. So I had to do some workarounds. So the first thing I did is I traded Pete Crow Armstrong, Will Robertson, and Drew Millis to the Tampa Bay Rays for Vidal Brujan because the Rays have a lot of second basemen right now. Ketel Marte, Xavier Edwards. So, they also went and signed Segura afterwards. But, they have a lot of second basemen. So Vidal Brujan wasn't necessarily that big of a deal for them. The Orioles needed second baseman, so I'm like, you know what, Vidal Brujan, that'll be a good acquisition. They'll like that. He's like 81 overall B potential. Good. Okay. Then I traded Ivan Herrera and Christian Rodriguez to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are looking for a backup catcher because Will Smith is about to hit free agency. He's probably going to command a lot of money. So Herrera is a nice little backup for them. And I got Miguel Vargas, who had a crazy rookie year. He's not out here right now, but he was being phased out. I mean, they had signed Ryan McMahon, so Vargas wasn't looking to get any playing time. So I'm like, all right, well, the Orioles, they need a third baseman as well. So I'm going to go get Miguel Vargas for them, Vidal Brujan. Good. I'll get one more player for them. It'll all be good. So I thought combining those two with Kyle Harrison would work, but still, I was still filling up that bar to like dead even, but they weren't happy yet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to send Kyle Harrison, Glenn Otto, and Emmanuel Rodriguez to the Cardinals. And I'm going to go get Dylan Carlson, who's an 87 overall, having a pretty good franchise so far. They got Will Myers here. They got Sam Hilliard here. So they're lower overalls, but they should be good in right field. And so I got Dylan Carlson. So I'm like, all right, Dylan Carlson, 87 overall. He's higher than Grayson Rodriguez. Miguel Vargas fits a need at third base. He's like 78 overall B potential. Vidal Brujan, 81 overall B potential, second base. They should totally do this trade, right? No, they didn't want to do that trade. They still didn't want to do that trade. So I'm like, oh, you guys are killing me. But I was determined. I was going to get this done. And I went to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I said, who's the best player on the Pirates I can trade you? The most value. And I went and I got Ke'Bryan Hayes. He's in the middle of his 8-year contract. He's like an 88 overall already. Getting close to his max potential, but he's an 88 overall already. He's had a pretty good franchise so far. And I sent them the 3 guys I just traded for. Vidal Brujan, Miguel Vargas, and Dylan Carlson. And the Pirates, they're like that. They're still in the midst of this rebuild, but they get some young players, some good talent. Vargas, look at the season that Vargas had last year with 500 at-bats. I mean, that's crazy. I didn't check what his final WAR was, 4.1. So good player here. Vidal Brujan, not the greatest franchise, but his WAR, okay, of good defensive versatility, helps him fill a need at second base. And then, hey, Dylan Carlson, A potential, not B potential, A potential. 2 years of service time left. Could be the next Brian Reynolds in Pittsburgh. So they don't mind giving up one stud player for 3 really good players. One of them, Dylan Carlson, could be a total stud. So, all right, I finally had what I needed to trade for the Baltimore Orioles. So I sent Ke'Bryan Hayes, as you can see, okay franchise so far, but he's already at that 88 potential. I sent them Riley Thompson, who I was looking to move anyways, but fills a need in the bullpen for them, already one of their better relievers. And then I finalized by sending them, who is it here? Beck Way. 69 overall. Nothing too crazy in terms of a pitcher, but helps him fill out some pitching depth there. Maybe they can get something out of him there. And finally, they said yes. And I thought about sending him a little bit more just to be nice so I didn't feel like I was screwing them over. But you know what? I said after all that, screw you. I gave up so much just to acquire this guy by fiddling around and making this happen. You're going to get what you're going to get and like it, okay? So that is the story of how I finally got Ke'Bryan Hayes onto our roster. And that is definitely by far the most insane just sequence of trades I have ever made in a sports game ever, just to get one freaking player. One player. But I'm excited about him. He's got 4 years of service time left. He's only 25 years old. He's got 95 potential. You see the stuff in the upper right-hand corner of that repertoire. Ooh, he's going to be filthy. So anyways, to finish off our recap of the offseason, I got to tell you about a couple guys that I extended. So I told you I was going to extend Trevor Rogers, and that's exactly what I did. I did it post-arbitration negotiations because I wasn't sure how our budget was going to pan out. I was worried a little bit how that was. As you can see, I gave him a front-loaded contract, again, for the same reason I explained to you about Willy Adames. I wanted to give that money up front because I have it right now, and I want it to tail off as I go on. I gave him a player option for 2031, so he might decide to opt out at the end of this contract because he's going to be 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. He's going to be 33 years old in that year, so he might be looking for another contract, but I'm okay with that if he opts out. But, yeah. So his total contract is 6 years, $130 million. And then the final guy that I extended was Santiago Espinal. The guy, I've really been really happy with him because he's just had a great franchise. The 2023 season was crazy. I mean, this was an outstanding season by any metrics possible. But overall, he's just been rock solid for us. He's given us positional versatility. He's going to be back at third base this year. And I just gave him a simple 4-year, $5 million extension. So he is going to be taking that to his age 35 season. Looking at it now, I probably should have only given him a 3-year contract because I only wanted to sign him to his age 34 season. I forgot that he's already... Yeah, that's my mistake. But, age 35 year, that's okay. He'll probably start to regress that age 34 season. But, $5 million is going to be too much for him. He'll still maintain some good value for us as a, utility player. So I'm not going to be too worried about that at all. $5 million is not that much to pay for a good player. Okay, so that's going to recap everything from our just insane offseason. Okay, that was a lot. So, all right. Show you guys the lineup, how things are looking. Same thing against lefties as it is against righties. So India leading off, Espinal second, Reynolds third, Happ fourth, Bush fifth. That's the same top 5 that we were using after the trade deadline last year. Juan Yepes coming in at the 6th hole. Hopefully he can repeat those power numbers from last year because that's why I'm putting him there. Alejandro Kirk right behind him, Elliot Ramos behind them, and Willy Adames in the 9 hole. Right in the bench, well, we'll finalize our bench after the spring training, but I got a pretty good idea of who is already going to be there regardless. Pitching rotation, show you guys that are locked into slots right now. Yohan Ramirez, Carlos Hernandez, Aaron Bummer, Luis Frias, Tyler Ivey, and Dylan Coleman are all locked into bullpen roles right now. You see Jock Pachu, Kyle Nicholas, Jeremiah Estrada, Keegan Aiken, Bryce Bonner, and Abner Uribe are competing for that last bullpen spot. As far as the starting pitchers, Grayson Rodriguez, Trevor Rogers are the only 2 guys locked into starting spots. And then Brady Singer, Bobby Miller, Asa Lacy, Brian Bello, and Alexander Vizcaino, who we picked up in the free agent market. He got non-tendered by the Cubs, so I picked him up, already 7-2 overall. Pretty good stuff, so I'm pretty excited to see where he goes from here. And, so that is... they are competing for the final 3 rotation slots and the long relief role, so those 5 guys. So... let's get to simulating spring training. Okay. Nick Gordon, we'll just keep him active. Okay, he's back in the lineup. So a lot of L's. So we were 9-20. Not too concerned about that, but let's go check out how some of the guys did. So Brady Singer, he's going to be in the rotation. I was pretty happy with how his season ended last year, so some promise. Yeah, so we'll see how he does. Bobby Miller, not a great spring training, but I'm going to have a hard time taking him out of the role after he won Rookie of the Year last year. Asa Lacy, not great. Brian Bello, pretty good. Alexander Vizcaino, okay, we will send him down. We will see how the rest of those guys shake out. There's 6 guys left. Okay, so I'll see. These 6 guys will all be in the majors. I just got to figure out who's in the rotation, who is in the long relief role. Okay, Keegan Aiken, he looked good. Nicholas looked good. Coleman's already in there. Bryce Bonnin, not a great spring training. He did have a good season, so I'm going to keep him because he had a good season last year. Okay, Estrada, he's going to go down. Pacho, I'm going to send him down regardless. He's going to go to AA. Abner Uribe, not great either. Okay, so we will shake that out. I like what Carson Taylor gave me last year, but I'm going to start him in AAA because Ali Sanchez fits kind of that backup role because he's a really good defender, and I want to get Carson Taylor some regular bats. Okay, Bush and Yepes, they're making it. Chavez was a depth guy I brought in. Not a great spring training, so he's not going to make it. Not bad for, does it show me? No, it doesn't show me the spring training stats. So, but I was pretty much always going to start him in AAA. Leo Peguero was always going to start him in AAA. Jorge Mateo, again, like I said, not expecting too much out of him with the bat. Good spring training by Nick Gordon, although only 18 at bats. Happer, Grichuk, Reynolds, Elliot Ramos, and then of course we don't really want Mickey McDonald, but he is one of our depth guys. Okay, so it looks like we have 2 pitchers left to cut. Okay. So let's start shaking some of this out. Okay, we're there. Trevor Rogers. Put them into the long relief role up there. So I'm trying to figure out which guys. And then one more guy to throw up here. Okay, I gotta try to shake this out. So, Rogers going to be our ace. Rodriguez our 2. Singer our 3. I think I'm going to keep Bobby Miller in there. Not a great spring training, but he was AL Rookie of the Year last year, so I don't see a reason to take him out. Asa Lacy, I'm probably going to keep him in that long relief role right now because an extra lefty in the bullpen would not be a bad idea. Plus, his walk numbers need to improve before he gets into the regular everyday role. Brian Bello, going to be on a short leash, though, because last year was a little rough, but I like how he finished the year, so maybe you can keep that momentum from last year. Okay. Hernandez is going to be my closer. All right, so it's going to be between Nicholas, Aiken. Okay, Aiken's going to go down because if I'm keeping Asa Lacy up, I don't want 3 lefties in the bullpen. Although, you know what? Maybe I do keep Keegan Aiken up and I send Lacy back down to AAA. Oh, that's a tough decision. Nicholas or Bonnin. I'm going to send Bonnin back down. Just because I want him to get a little bit more. We're going to give... Man, because Aiken pitched pretty well last year when he was in the majors. Oh, this is tough. I'm actually having a little bit of trouble deciding. So I'm going to send Bryce Bonnin down. So that's one of the 2 guys you got to send down. Kyle Nicholas or Keegan Aiken or Asa Lacy. Oof. You know what? Let's not. Lacy's only 25, right? Okay. Let's not torch him yet. We will see how we don't want to torch his potentials yet. I think he's still sitting at that 87, 88, 87. So let's not get him off to a bad start. Let's get him a little bit extra seasoning at AAA. And then, so we need to shake out who is going to be in that long reliever role. So Bummer I want here. There. I might put Tyler Ivey in there because he has enough. He has enough stamina. But I do kind of want to use him as well, maybe I will use him because, yeah, let's just use him as the long reliever. He's the best long reliever option I have right now. And, yeah. So, and then Coleman I want to be my second reliever. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, Bummer will get a lot of usage because he's the predominant lefty. Plus, he's the highest overall in the pen. Yohan Ramirez in my setup. Carlos Hernandez. And by the way, I'm putting Aaron Bummer here instead of my closer or setup role because I really want him to pitch the middle innings where I really need like big time lefties to come in and just transition to my bullpen. So, yeah, all right. So that is going to be how our rotation looks, and that is going to be how our lineup looks. And yeah, I'm excited for this year. Let's look at some of the lineup guys did. So, yeah, I mean, overall, pretty good lineup work for us. So, I'm excited about how this year is going to go for us. And you see, we've actually, after changing everything and whatnot, we've actually shot up to 12th in the ranking, 10th in pitching, 9th and 11th in contact. Whew. All right. So, anyways, in the meantime, between time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys are ready for the 2025 season. I'm ready to make the playoffs. How about you? So, I'm going to go and probably set myself to play some opening day. So I'm out. Deuces.